Stop the insanity. Get your focus back onto what really matters in life. Your faith, your family, your finances, and your future. Sit back, listen, and change the trajectory of your life. You are listening to the Money for Life podcast. Let's welcome your hosts, Teresa Kuhn and Rick Sapio.
Hey everyone, this is Rick Sapio, and I'm doing this one alone. My partner Teresa Kuhn is interviewing somebody else right now, and what we decided to do is divide and conquer. So I am interviewing Hosss Pratt. And it's funny, we do live events twice a year. I actually do another one too, so 3 times a year. And you meet a lot of different speakers, and you're like, great. But this guy, Hosss Pratt, I just loved your domain knowledge. You owned the stage. You were the type of guy that wasn't just a speaker, but you were a doer, and you were speaking about what you did in your world. Look, here's what I did, and you could do it too, and you could have a great life. And I just loved your energy, and so I'm happy to interview you. What I said to you when we were preparing is, I want you to introduce yourself, because we haven't seen each other in 3 years. This is probably the first time we've even talked since then. Tell us what you're up to right now as you give your bio, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, man, Rick, it's great to be here, by the way. I do remember that event. One of the things that I remember that event was not only the quality of the people that were in the room, but the energy. And as a speaker, I always appreciate the room that has the energy, man. I love that energy. And not many rooms have that energy, but yours did. And I know the people listening here know what I'm talking about. So it's a privilege to be here. My name is Hosss Pratt. I'm a real estate coach and trainer for the last 10 years. That's what I've done, is I've helped thousands of agents generate millions of dollars in commissions, provide them with the systems and the tools, help them change their mindset. Because in real estate, it's about generating leads, converting leads, and my systems provide agents that path. In an industry that has a revolving door where 95% of the transactions are done by the 5% of the agents, I help agents break into that 5%, stay in that 5%, and then scale from that. And that's what I've done. It's been my passion. I've worked with agents all around the world today. I work with a company called EXP. We're building the biggest organization in the world within that company, myself and the people that I work with every day.
I want you to talk about what you did prior to this, which is also awesome, but about being the biggest in the world at, just very specifically, you're going to be the biggest in the world at what?
We're building an organization of real estate agents.
Oh, so in addition to coaching them, it would make sense, you'd have your own agents. Wow. Okay.
And that's what I've done, Rick, for years. I've sold courses, sold products. And I believe that for my path is finding the alignment to where I can partner with people to where it's not a transaction, it's a partnership. And that's where I spend my time today. I haven't always been there, but since post-COVID world, post the world that we're in, a lot of things have changed. Every 10 years, every crisis, everything we go through, I know in my story, I've pivoted. That's taken me to my next level.
Why I said earlier is what you did before is, it seems like you were successful selling a product. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but then you shifted to coaching and systems for real estate agents. And now I love the shift to this. I actually wrote it down. I want to learn about the company because I like to invest in companies. EXP.
Yes.
So tell us about your personal life.
Man, my personal life, I have 3 daughters. I'm married, been married, my best friend for 11 years. I live in a sorority here. I live in Plano, Texas. I'm a family man. That's who I am. I'm a protector. That's what I do. And I just so blessed to have the people around me. My daughters, my wife, they're just so much love. For me, that's my legacy is in my kids. So I invest in them and pour into them. And I just try to surround them with the right people. I know for me, I grew up in Missouri in the country. I wasn't exposed to a lot. Like I didn't see the ocean till I was 22. I didn't get on an airplane till I was like 21. And I want my kids to be exposed so they can see things that will create awareness. And that's important to me.
I believe you when you say there's a lot of love in your home. I'm all about family. I've got 44 nieces and nephews. Question.
Oh, that's awesome.
Give us some nuggets on how, as a really busy entrepreneur who reads a ton of books, as you can see, that is not a background, that is a real library, and it's an awesome library. What are some nuggets to keep the faith, keep the happiness, keep the love at home?
I've studied successful people my whole life, and I've looked at people and I'm like looking for the perfect person. Who's the one who has it all dialed in? Who has the money and who has the family? Who's the one who didn't lose it all in the process? And, the one thing that I found, and I saw this early on, the people that were truly fulfilled, they had a personal relationship with a higher power. The people that didn't, they never seemed fulfilled. They were never happy. And I always noticed that in people. And I noticed that there was a void in people, that they had it all, but there was still something missing. And to me, that void is my faith in Christ as a Christian. And that's, to me, is everything in the world we live in. I think that's my journey. That's what I discovered, is that's the answer to all of it.
I did a lot of homework over the years, research on, you think about the French Revolution, it plays right into what you just said. The difference between Europe and America, at least for now, you mentioned post-COVID. I don't know what the post-COVID world will look like, but the French Revolution was about, we don't want God. God is separate. We're individuals. And it was the sovereignty. Well, let me not go down that road, but it was basically, we don't have to answer to a higher power. And when you look at what happened in America, In God We Trust, it makes people better human beings. If they're subject to a higher power, it makes them question what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
It adds a whole lot more of love and trust and relationship in a society. So I always found it fascinating watching what happened to Europe after the French Revolution and watching what happened to the United States when there was an explosion of what? Entrepreneurship, family, business growth, societal growth. And unfortunately, this is a whole nother podcast potential. I don't know if you do one, but the attack on the family is just sad to me. Like, you wreck a family, you wreck a society. All right, everyone. And now this is a message from our sponsor, the 100-Year Savings Solution. Teresa and I do these podcasts because we are very committed to you having wealth in your life. And that wealth is long-term wealth. And how do you get wealth? You get wealth by employing the barbell investment strategy, in which you focus on creating a foundation of wealth using specially designed whole life insurance from a mutually owned insurance company. And you're going to get higher returns with far less risk. I call it risk-free, but it's far less risk than you can get anywhere else in the world. And once you have that financial foundation set up, the rest of your wealth creation is almost automatic. Go to www.100yearsavings.com. Let's go back to, you do a lot of podcasts and you have good ones and bad ones, I'm sure, just like me, but what do you want to leave people with? They're going to spend 30 minutes of their time listening to this and knowing society today. They're not just going to listen to this, have their other devices going and not going to pay attention. But listen, if they did pay attention, bottom line it for us, what do you want people to get out of this interview?
Something from my experience that you're seeking. I think we're all seeking something because you find what you're looking for, and everybody's looking for something different. Maybe they're looking for that answer to what that void is that they have, and they didn't know what it was. And maybe the first time they thought about that, and they take it and they do something. Maybe it's something we discuss later about a business strategy, and they take that and run with it. So it's really just being able to look at my story and seeing something that you're looking for, because I don't know all the answers. And that's, for me, I only do and teach what I've just done. I mean, I'm super grateful for everything, for all my challenges in my life, because that's what allows me to be able to teach other people. So I don't think I know everything. I just know what I've experienced.
What I experienced you as is someone who lives a life, both business and personal, in full alignment. So I like the growth in one area, this whole real estate, how it evolved. And what happens is you get better and better and better, and then new opportunities come, like the EXP opportunity. What I see happening for people is they don't do that. Let me try this, and let me try that, and let me do this, and let me do that, and let me try to marry this person. Maybe that'll work out. Maybe I'll have a kid or two and see how that works out. But you seem like, my experience of you is, you've got a solid foundation that you come from, Midwestern values. I like it. My wife's from Missouri.
What part of Missouri?
She grew up in Kansas City.
There you go. I'm from St. Joe.
Okay.
Close.
I'm doing the St. Joseph consecration right now. The Pope said this is the year of St. Joseph. So there's a book called St. Joseph Consecration. So it mentions your hometown. Unbelievable guy, by the way. Regardless of your religious affiliation, I'm the only guy in the world doing a podcast right after getting mouth surgery. So that's why I'm mumbling a little bit. But regardless of your religious affiliation, St. Joe is an amazing dude. So you're from St. Joe, she's from Kansas City, but what you both have in common is a foundation, it appears, right? And so then you build from that, but you don't go too far off of it. And I always say to people, live a life in alignment with your values, in alignment with your purpose, and in alignment with your objectives. And don't go too far astray if you want to have a higher probability of being successful. And it sounds like you have done that. That's what hit me 3 years ago when we were together.
Yeah. To add to that, it's always putting yourself in the place that you can best grow and grow from, putting yourself in the place of uncertainty. Like for me, it was leaving that and moving to Dallas, which was a huge city. At the time, again, I haven't been on an airplane. I moved here and I didn't know a single person here, but I grew from here. It was a bigger pot. It was like a seed was planted when I moved here, and I could grow. I could become anybody I wanted to be. And I never stopped that, putting myself in that place. In order to do that, you have to be willing to leave it all. You got to be willing to lose it all to gain everything. You got to when I left Missouri, I was making six figures as a teenager mowing grass. I had the biggest commercial gas pipeline contract that I got. I had 100 lawns that I was mowing, and I left it all because it was going to make me stuck if I didn't leave.
What do you think gave you the wherewithal to do that? Like, what was it inside of you? And of course, you've heard the story about the crabs in the bucket. When one crab's trying to come out, his brothers and sisters go, you can't get out. So I'm sure your family and friends were like, Hosss, what the hell are you doing? But what gave you the wherewithal to overcome that?
Nobody thought it was a good idea. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody said I would fail. I think that's the way I've always done things. I've always created waves. I've always made a big move. I've always pulled through. I've always did it. I always did the thing that nobody else would.
But what I'm trying to have is the audience is listening to this and saying, I don't have that. What did he do so I can do that? Because it's funny that a friend of mine was sitting in a $200,000 a year job, give or take, as an accountant inside a big company for 15 years. And for 15 years, I said, Mark, leave the job, go be an entrepreneur. And he finally left, right? Because it's never a good time to leave. And then 5 years later, sold the company for $80 million. And he said, Rick, why didn't you tell me sooner? I told you for 15 years.
Right.
But so what is it like that you had that made you overcome that Mark didn't have for 15 years and that the vast majority of us don't have?
You know, there are many experiences, things that I experienced before that time that I proved to myself that it can be done. Like multiple things. I mean, even like in high school, for example, I wanted to be a DJ. I made a phone call. I said, hey, I want to be a DJ. I want to get a job internship. And people told me I'm crazy. I ended up getting it. I was a job intern at Young Country Q104 in Kansas City in high school, just because I made the phone call.
Give us one opening.
What? One opening of the DJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, hey, this is Big Hosss here at Young Country Q104. I'm sitting here with my boy Luke Dog. And like one time, I'll give you an example. I locked my keys in my truck. And I said, it was a Saturday. I go, look, I locked my keys in my truck. For the first person to come down here and unlock my truck is going to get 2 free tickets to the Ty Herndon concert this Saturday. And I go downstairs and there's like a sea of people to unlock my truck. And this was in high school. So the answer is once somebody experiences proving to themselves that it can be done, that changes the game. So your friend has never experienced that where in the entrepreneurial world. And when he did, now nothing can stop him. It happened for me when I was a kid, when I was young. Other people, it may happen in their 20s. So my answer is go for it. There's nothing that the human being can't do, accomplish, and achieve in your life. Like you can do it. Go for it. And you got to leave the nest, cut the cord, because that's where the magic happens, and just go for it and do it.
You know, what's funny about your answer is I was with this girl. She has 4 kids the same age as my kids. And you have a big personality. I have a big personality. And I didn't know her. I knew her husband. This was a few weeks ago. And she said, I'm going to meet your kids later, but I guarantee you they're shy. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, because people with a big personality have shy kids. And I think that's true to a certain extent. How do you overcome that because you have such a massive personality? Are your kids shy? That's a prediction.
I was just sitting there thinking about that. Maybe one a little bit, but for me, I want my kids to be whoever they are and let them be who they are. Like I have my youngest, man, we went to a store yesterday. She's wearing hot pink boots and like just crazy. And I just let her do it because it's about confidence, right?
How old is she?
Ivy's 8.
She's 8. All right. So I said what I said a moment ago because people are listening and saying, okay, this guy's got a big personality. He's Big Hosss. He can do it, but I can't. So what happened when you got to Dallas in your 20s? Big city, you knew nobody. By the way, same exact story for me. I knew nobody.
Did you just move here?
Just moved here.
Where from?
I moved from New York City. And the reason I did it is I didn't think I could be successful with too many anchors in my past. I wanted to just break away. And you hear that story all the time. I think personally, Hosss, it's impossible to hit your maximum potential in the world while still having your life somewhere else, like in the past. So anyway,
Possible.
tell us like the first year, what happened? You get here, like how'd you get your first job? What'd you do? And how did that ultimately lead to your first big success?
Well, here's the thing. To that person who's willing to make the trip and make the move, to the person that goes for it, things happen. You'll realize that you're led. You're being led. Like life happens for you, not to you. So when I got here, things happened. I got a job going door to door. That was the first job I got as I got my real estate license. And I was selling spa coupons. And I was going and knocking 100 doors a day in the heat. You know, it was hot down here outside.
With your mask on.
Yeah, no mask then, buddy. It was just straight pounding the pavement, man. I'd knock every door, every floor. I experienced so much from energy of sales in that time. I did it for 2 years. I experienced mastery of your scripts and tonality and control and confidence and enthusiasm was a biggie I learned in door to door. Like, man, if you ain't enthusiastic, you ain't selling nothing. So I learned all that and I mastered door to door.
You're bringing back so many memories. I did the same thing as you. And I remember when I was cold calling, not door to door, but on the phone selling bonds in New York City. I listened to myself on the phone with a recording every single day. I would say, what could I have done better? I did it for like 6 months. And I got that from a book called The World's Greatest Salesman. So when I started my own company, I hired 40 salespeople on the phone. I begged them to do that and nobody did it. So I think what you're pointing out is the way you approach sales, your enthusiasm, your passion, your wanting to be better, just that in and of itself is probably rare, right? I mean, I don't know. You seem like, unfortunately, you're pointing out that some of this is our choices that we make, or you chose, it seems like every day, look, I want to learn. I want to get better. I want to increase this, this, and this. You just laid it all out for us. I'm going to take you off your path right here, but why doesn't everybody do that?
Man, they don't want to. They don't want it bad. They don't want it enough. I mean, if they wanted it, they'd go for it. Like I remember from the first thought, I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be the person that everybody said they couldn't. I wanted to prove to people. And I've always remember that. And I've always been willing to do it. And I always sought the thing that would get me there. Where can I go? How do I do it? That's the reason I called the radio station. That's the reason I started the lawn service. That's the reason I made the move. And I don't know where that comes from other than it always comes down to wanting to be loved. You know what I mean? As a human being, that's what drives everybody, but be accepted. You know what I mean? Like all of those things. So I don't know what that answer is, Rick. Just know that if they want it, then they can. There's nothing that somebody can't do.
This time you're talking about spa memberships, but ultimately that led to selling houses. And then tell us just how did you transition into what you're doing now? Because it really wasn't that long ago. You're not that old. How many years ago?
39, man. I know. I've just had a lot has happened. When I went from door to door, I got into real estate sales. That skill set of door to door transferred to the phone. So when it transferred to the phone, I called for sale by owners and expired listings, and I would call hundreds of them a day. And I never worked a buyer, so I was known as the listing boss because I would just list homes. I would just prospect in the morning and go on listing appointments in the evening. And so I did that. Like, as you said, I used to record my calls to critique them, to coach other people. How I got started speaking, man, is like, people got a hold of those calls and they listened to them and they went like viral and I gave them away for free. And so I had an industry was listening to these calls and they worked.
How did they get out there? Did you want them to get out there? Was it accidental?
Yeah, I knew the direction I was going. I was already doing some training. So I sold my real estate business because those things were taken off because I wanted to be a coach and trainer.
We have so many similarities, even though I'm older than you and I was in New York. I would cold call people in Philadelphia. I love Philadelphia for this reason. You cold call them and they would say, a massive percentage would do something like this. You MFer, I don't want to curse a lot. Don't you ever call me again. I hope your whole family dies, and hang up the phone. And I would call them back and I go, do you want every member of my family to die? Because I could, and they would go, what are you calling about? And I literally turned the biggest pieces of SHIT around because I thought when someone said no to me, that was just one step on the way to yes. So if my calls ever went viral, it wouldn't be good because there's a lot of F-bombs and not good language.
Yeah, these were good and they provide a lot of content because, Texas, I'm a good old boy too. I got some of these folks just talking and I train people. But here's the deal. That was in a crash. That was in 08, 09. And I had a decision to make. I was either going to go travel the country and do seminars, or I was going to just keep selling houses. And I left it again. So the same thing, I left the lawn service, the same thing, I left my real estate business. It was successful, but I walked away, sold it, not for a lot, but just to get it out of it and go to travel the country. And that's what I did. And I did that for 2 years. I spent 200 days a year on the road doing seminars, and I did over 1,000 seminars in 48 states.
1,000? How were you tied to an organization, or
So I was a Keller Williams agent. So I had a couple of people on the phone calling brokerages, mainly KW. That was a shoe-in. I've been in over 600 Keller Williams offices around the country.
And was the goal to make money as a speaker? Was it to sell product? Like, what was it ultimately to sell coaching?
The only way that would ever happen for a listener, for somebody to say, I want to go travel the country, do seminars, like, you're not going to get paid keynotes to do that. Nobody's going to pay you to speak. So you have to have a product to sell. At the time, I didn't have a product. So what I did, it's called co-optition. You go to your competition. I called one of the trainers that was in the industry at the time. I liked his stuff. He had a product, and I called him and I said, hey, I'm going to be traveling the country doing some seminars. I like your stuff. It's in alignment with my message. Let's do the rev share. If I send you 50%, take out the expenses, can I sell your product? He called me back and said, yes, you can sell my course. So I was doing that. I was selling his stuff for about a year and a half. Year and a half in, I get a phone call. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 8 seminars lined up that week. And he goes, hey, you can't sell my stuff anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? I got 8 seminars lined up this week. He goes, because I'm being sued and I can't sell anything. So they can't sell that course. So it's over. I'm like, so what about these 8 seminars? He goes, I don't know what to tell you. So I hang up the phone. I call another guy. I said, hey man, I got to go into this seminar here. Can I sell your course for $1,000? Send you 50? Yep. Boom. I walked right into that seminar selling it his course, his product.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like those things, right? Like problem, solution. And there's always a solution and there's always a way. But to answer your question, I did that to build the skill of speaking and to build the muscle and to build a list and an audience.
Isn't it true that people ask me all the time, how do you become a good speaker? I'm like, you just got to do it 1,000 times. There's no other way around it.
Here's an example. Let's say somebody, because I get that question, how'd you learn to speak? I'm like, I just talk about what I know. So first off, if you talk about what you know and what you love, you're going to be passionate about it. And that passion, that anybody, they could be an introvert and they could talk about, sunglasses, you know what I mean? And they just are passionate about sunglasses. And like, they're like, oh my gosh, the sunglasses magic. And they light up. Like that person could get on stage and talk about sunglasses. And it's about knowing what it is you're talking about and because that's where the passion comes from. And then it comes doing that over and over and over again to master the skill of speaking.
Yeah, you were great. You were a really bright spot because, oftentimes when you do events like I do, you have these people that come on and they just go, I'm a professional speaker. And I go, don't say that. Because when people speak and they say I'm a paid speaker and they travel around the country as a paid speaker, it's not interesting to me. What's interesting to me is a guy like you or a girl that built a business and then they're sharing what they know on stage and they're just passionate about sharing, like you mentioned. And so I appreciate you being that way on my stage.
I guess unless somebody has a testimony to share, I'll give you an example. Like I have a friend, Nick Vujicic. He's
no arms, no legs.
No arms, no legs, right? Like that guy, he can speak that message all day, buddy. Like what a gift.
What a gift. And he says it's an advantage to not have arms and legs. Isn't that crazy? So a lot of people watching this or listening to this, some people that listen to it don't even know it's on video because we do it both ways. We're looking for people that are long-term real estate investors. We've got the 100-year savings solution. We've got the 100-year real estate investor. And you've got some exciting things to share about what you're doing with one of the biggest names in real estate. Hosss, tell us what you're up to and how people can find you.
Anybody listening that's in real estate, there's a lot of different branches of opportunity in real estate. But that's like the investor, for example. One thing that makes sense, and this is what I'm doing now, I'm working with people in real estate as a real estate agent. So let's say you don't have your real estate license. You get your license. You become a part of something bigger because you're already going to be doing the deals. It's going to plug you into a network. And that's what we're doing. I work with Tariq El Moussa, who's the flipper flop on TVs, HGTV guy. He's probably one of the bigger celebrities in the industry. That brings a lot of awareness to the consumer, which goes a long way in the real estate world. And Grant Cardone and Elena Cardone recently partnered with us as well. And what we're doing is we're looking for people that want to be a part of a real estate empire, both on, on the agent attraction side, but also as you check out the company, it's publicly traded. I believe this is the greatest opportunity in real estate today, an investor or an agent. And that's what we're doing. So if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me and I'm happy to share any more information on it.
How do they find you?
You can go to hosspratt.com. That's my website. My name's Hosss, HOSS, I'm on most all social platforms. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. You can message me, whatever you want, whatever's easier. Find me and follow me.
What's the symbol of the publicly traded company?
It's EXPI.
What I love about your energy is you fit smack dab in the middle of what we represent: faith, family, finances, and future. And you're funny because you got it all. And you got a big future ahead of you, 39 years old. You already got the gray hair to show.
It's a lot more gray since I last saw you too.
That means you got a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, it's a full head of gray hair for sure.
It's funny. People ask me if I dye my hair. I have gray hair, but not that much. It's pretty funny. So you got more wisdom than me at 39. I would love to have lunch with you. I'm going to send you an email. You have my email? I don't even know if I have yours.
I don't know. My email is hoss@hosspratt.com. That goes to the listeners too, if you need to reach out there. Hosss@hosspratt.com.
So just before we leave, don't you guys listen and love this guy's energy? I mean, he just puts it all out there. And that is one of the secrets to life. Why complicate things? Do what you're passionate about. Sell what you know. Don't be somebody you're not. And you're demonstrating all those things for our listeners. So Hosss, thank you so much. I enjoyed every minute of it. Have an awesome day. And we'll see each other while we're breaking bread.
Thank you, man. Thanks to everybody for listening and appreciate what you're doing.
You have just experienced Money for Life. Implement these strategies today and create a life by design. Have a blessed day.